Welcome to the Thriving Artist Podcast, where we share strategies and support for artists to thrive.
We know that the art world can feel like a lonely place, and we want to provide a network of support, impactful strategies, and an abundance of encouragement to help you grow your authentic art career.
We're your hosts. I'm Jamie Smith.
And I'm Kaylan Butine, and we are also the co-founders of the Thrive Together Network, a community of female and non-binary identifying artists and artists who are caregivers.
We truly believe in community over competition, and we're so glad you're here. Enjoy this episode. Welcome to another episode of the Thriving Artist Podcast. We are so happy to have you here with us this week. I am Jamie Smith. I am one of your hosts.
And I'm Kaylan Butine, your other podcast host.
And in this episode, we are sharing 5 unfortunate art world truths. So Kaylan and I have been leading art communities and been leaders in the arts for many years. And we decided to pool our experience and kind of think of this art world as a whole. So it's sort of this nebulous term, but we decided to think of the entirety of this art world that we're experiencing.
And of course, as we did this, we had similar things to share about what we feel like is unfortunate aspects of the art world. But we're just going to say right from the beginning, spoiler alert, there's so many positive things, and we're going to talk about them too. So as long as artists recognize that those things exist, these unfortunate art world truths, we can kind of process them and, do what we can to overcome them and not get discouraged, and then use those truths to our advantage.
I know the truth can hurt, but we are here to help you. Knowing is better than not knowing, and it's hard. We both had experiences of finding out some of these truths firsthand and thinking, if only I had known this sooner. So our first unfortunate art world truth is that our number one thing, and this has been really hard for me to accept, art takes time. Mm-hmm. So I am someone who's always trying to move forward, and typically that means quite quickly. And when I started being an artist, like really taking my practice seriously, I can't believe the timeline I set for myself.
Yes.
I thought it was all going to happen. So it was a bit of a hard pill to swallow. But now that I've seen this time play out and understand this truth and accepted it and not fight it, I have found a much more patient art practice, a calmer art practice, something that I know that is building, and it's helped me a lot mentally. Instead of pushing my work, I can accept. And I think that's been a really big game changer for me as a person and with my practice, because I think I realized you never really arrive, even when you in your practice think, I'll do this and then this will happen. Mm-hmm. There's always something more to add, and that thing doesn't happen, or something totally different that you didn't expect. So it's a hard one, but it's been a game changer for me. Art takes time.
Art takes time, and it takes time to make art, like more time than I think we realize to physically make the work that we want to make. But then also our careers overall take time. It takes time to get to those milestones. I have a really funny story about this connected to this that I just want to share quickly. I remember when I was in grad school, the last semester, I was in this program with an artist who already had a pretty professional career. She was showing worldwide and kind of all this stuff. And we were doing this exercise where we had to write kind of what our goals would be for ourselves for a year, like an ideal year as an artist. Yeah. Right? And I wrote 6 solo shows. And this other artist was 6 solo shows, Kaylan, that's a lot of solo shows to have in 1 year. And I'm like, really? And, because she had this experience of she's I maybe do 1 or 2 a year, even 2 is too much. And I'm like, no, I'm going to be doing 6. We think We can conquer the
Yes.
world when we're little baby
Yeah.
artists, and then we learn.
Yeah, totally. How much work it all is and that it
Yes.
takes time. That's so funny.
Okay, so number two, our next unfortunate art world truth is that, oh, this is a hard hitter.
Yeah.
The art market is oversaturated. We know it to be true. I know you don't want to hear that, but it you can't deny it. The art market is oversaturated, right? Just log into your Instagram and it's like, wow, there's so many amazing artists out there. Everyone is an artist. Everybody is making great work, right? And often we feel like other people are making better work than us, right? So not only is the art market oversaturated, it's oversaturated with amazing artists doing amazing things. And that can, just detract, I think, from our motivation. It can help us be discouraged. But by actually understanding and accepting the truth that the market is saturated, right? We get to really form some strategies. We get to lean into our unique voice as an artist and make the art that only we can make, right? Tell the story that only we can make. You can take up your own space in the art world, and it might feel like a small space, but it is your space. And so we just want to encourage you that yes, the art market is oversaturated, but actually that's really a good thing. That means there's so many artists out there making work, and our culture is shifting, hopefully, to support those artists, right? So, yeah, I think that's a big one and a tough pill to
Also,
swallow.
also, as you're talking, we've talked about this, but one thing that I find so fascinating is that we sometimes forget that probably our Instagram feed, like I know when I go into mine, it's all artists. That's what
Yep.
I'm interested in. That's who I follow. And I use my professional art account as a professional account. So I'm
Right.
following my peers and people I want to support and learn from. My friends, my muggle friends, my non-art friends, I am one of three artists,
Right.
people they know in their feed. I might be the main one they know. And
Right.
so sometimes I think we forget. I know for me, I go in on my Instagram account and think, what's the point? Look at
Right.
all this talent on here. And we have to remember that we are taking up space in our own community, our own unique bubble.
Yep.
And we might be taking up a really big space for some people.
Yep.
So yeah, I think social media can skew
Yeah, it
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 a little
skews
bit
it
too.
skews it. That's a great
Yeah.
way to put that, Jamie. Because I'm as you're talking, I'm sitting here like looking out my window at my neighborhood, and I'm like, well, I'm one of the only artists I know within like a 5-minute walk of my neighborhood, and
Yeah.
so is it really that oversaturated? I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. So I just think remembering that when you have those feelings, there's so many artists. What am I doing? Just
Mhm.
accept that and move on from it
Yep.
because, your work is also completely different than all of that.
Yep.
So, number three, unfortunate art world truth. So I learned this very early on as well, and no one told me this. Being an artist and being an entrepreneur are two really different things. So this was a really big aha for me because when I first started, I left a teaching career to then be a professional artist. And I really struggled because I was making this work, but then I realized I needed to do my own accounting and I needed, like, I would make a sale and then I was like, now what?
Right.
And so I started to kind of understand and place these two almost personas of artist, entrepreneur. And
Hmm.
it kind of helped me realize is that I needed to nurture both sides. And my artist side is where I can go kind of, it's like a soft place is my art practice. I can go inward. But my business side is more about lists and strategies and outward and networking. So it kind of helped me like protect that soft artist side and then also kind of give that entrepreneur some power and authority to be like, okay, go out there, make some moves.
Yeah.
And it was, hard when I thought, oh, everyone who makes art does all of these things. And I realized that's not the truth. It's learned, and one side might be easier to learn than the other for some people.
Well, and there's always outsourcing, right? If you can't do it exactly yourself.
Yes.
I do love that idea of there being these two sort of personas that we need to think about. And I think what that does is, the artist and the entrepreneur, it kind of takes the pressure off of those, the feeling of like, I have to be all the things all the time, right? Like, maybe you have one day of your week that is just your entrepreneur role and you focus on that and you take the hat of the artist off that day. But then, of course, when you're in the studio, we think it's more beneficial to not be worrying about all the entrepreneur stuff and just lean into that artist identity. So it really helps to think about that with compartmentalizing your time too. Okay, let's move forward to our fourth unfortunate art world truth. Number 4, stories sell. So this kind of relates to our previous unfortunate art world truth about your art practice versus your art business. It can feel really exhausting to make our art and then figure out how we're going to craft this story around selling our art, right? But this is sort of the marketing side of the business that is truly essential to drawing people into your unique art world, into the work that you make. You have to create this world and, have these stories, have these branches to your practice that other people can connect to. And storytelling is one of the ways that we can do this. So I think this is a great reminder for me right now, Jamie, because I'm just feeling a little bit of social media burnout. And, I think just kind of breaking it down and sharing a simple story about the work is a good strategy.
Well, and I think I learned about this with my last show, Mother Time. I really started writing in my practice, which typically I wouldn't do. And I found, sharing my work such a hassle when I got onto Instagram and or a newsletter. It was like, okay, where do I even start with this story?
Mm-hmm.
But actually with that work, I wrote during making it and I wrote a lot in my sketchbook. And then later when I've gone on to share that work, it's felt a lot more truth and authenticity because it was in the time. It wasn't a later version of myself saying, this one was so fun to make. And,
right. Yes,
so
that's kind of a bonus tip.
yeah, adding in some writing as you make can kind of help you get these stories out and can feel like a very authentic way to sell your work as well. So, and our fifth and our final unfortunate truth, we will let you go after this one. I know it's hard. Too much truth is too hard. And this one, Kayla and I, it's very dear to our heart. Number 5, a lone artist is a lonely one. So this is something I think we've both felt in our journeys of finding our community is, I was definitely fed a story in art school that the artist is, well, male, first of all, right. And then this rebel and outcast, the art was everything and making money from art was difficult and you shouldn't really do that.
But it magically always happened for the most successful ones.
Yeah. And they all had mental health problems and it was just a lot. Yes. And when I left teaching to then be an artist, I was incredibly lonely. I went from a very social, vibrant job to then being alone, making the work, then being alone, trying to figure out how to be that entrepreneur side. So we both, I think, can speak for both of us, decided that that's not what we wanted. And so we went, we don't recommend this to everyone. We went the extra mile and really formed our people and found them. But it really, my art practice wouldn't be what it is today without the people in the Thrive community and TTN and the Artist Mother community that have really, given me not only advice, but hope and we can talk shop. And so I think it's really important to know that sometimes it can feel like you don't have time to even make art. How do you have time to meet art friends and what does that look like? But it's a lot more fun if you have people around you because you're going to make art your whole life. It's going to be a long thing that builds, and having people around that you can talk to about this stuff is really going to feed the practice.
Absolutely. And, Jamie and I only want to provide you with those authentic outlets of support. We want to help you sort of demystify these art world truths that can feel very heavy. And we feel like the best way to be an artist in the world is to not be that lone artist, but to be one who's well connected and who is not only being supported by other artists, but who is sharing their gifts and supporting a community back, because we feel like you probably have a lot to offer, the people in your art community. So we would love for you to join us. You can always sign up and see what our membership is about if you go to thrivetogethernetwork.com. We have over 400 female identifying and non-binary working artists from all over the world. There's tons of people to connect with. So we would love to see you there.
And we do a 2-week free trial. So if you're feeling like, what is this all about? You can sign up for 2 weeks and plug in a little bit, which is really fun. Yeah. And we hope that you find these unfortunate art truths actually freeing. I think it's just the sooner we know these things and can kind of accept them and maybe let some of them go and just know that these are the truths of it, we're going to have a much more fulfilling journey. So as always, Kaylan and I are here for you. We are cheering you on, and we believe in the work that you're doing as thriving artists.